Okay, everybody, this is why the Green New Deal must go viral now. Not tomorrow, not a week from tomorrow, but now. And that's the website where you can get more information, greennewdealofficial.com. Now, first of all, we're going to be talking about the annual Arctic sea ice melt that goes on every year. I'm sure you've heard about it in the news, but this gives you a chance to actually watch it happen over the last 20, 30 years. This is the Arctic right above there, and below is Canada, which will roll around on the left here in a minute. The white is all of the ice on average over the years. You can see it goes up and down a little bit more sometimes, then it goes less, but the overall trend is less and less ice in the both polars, not just the Arctic, but the Antarctic as well. And now you can see we're coming down to our current term, 2018, 2019, and there's about half of the ice that's melted. So you see the trend right there, going down over the last 20, 30 years, less and less ice. These figures are all from NASA, by the way, so you can verify it just by going to the NASA website. You'll find these little videos. I'm not making any of this up. Now this next little video shows you in relation to all this ice that's melting in the polar regions, is what the effect it has on the planet is it makes all of these coastal regions go underwater. The red area here along our coastline is area that is going to be underwater. You're going to see it. That includes Miami, by the way, half of the state of Florida, and it's going to be a lot more. This red is just going to go worse and worse and worse right through the greatest portion of America someday if we don't do anything. But this is what is easily predictable, and you can see how it rises slowly, slowly, slowly from the ice melt and other environmental things that are going on. And that's how the ocean will gradually rise and wipe out more and more of the continents every year. This is just part of the evolution of this disaster that's ongoing right now. Again, I'm not making this up. That's NASA data. Now, here's another one. These are all little NASA demonstrations that they have on their website. This is a global temperature going up since the 1880s. You can see the years clicking down here. And these are this is the globe, obviously. And the yellow going into red is the temperature of the planet getting warmer and warmer and warmer. Now, this is probably the most important. If you forget everything else, this is the most important part of this video, but where you can see with your own eyes global warming taking effect. These are rising temperatures all over the world until right now, where the data ends, is 2018. Now, remember when this started out, it was blue like this and yellow, where we had kind of a temperate climate. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but I do. And through the years, I've actually witnessed this coming. I moved away from Los Angeles and moved north about 500 miles a long time ago, decades ago, because I felt Los Angeles getting warmer and warmer every year, and it was annoying. I don't like the heat. So I was like the canary in the coal mine. I got out of there. And so there's the red coming again over the last 10, 20 years. And those are the temperatures of the Earth overall going up. Now, when are you going to start to do something when the planet is solid red and we're dying of the heat and frustration and prostration and all of those gestations? I mean, that's what's coming. This is NASA data proving what I'm talking to you about. So, as the temperatures rise and you're feeling less and less comfortable more and more days of the year, just remember that this is all preventable, and we can reverse that. We must reverse that trend. Otherwise, we're all going to be fried very soon. Now, it might not happen in our lifetimes. I don't know how old you are, but it's going to happen in your children or your children's children's lifetime, guaranteed. And as the carbon dioxide levels rise, eventually people suffocate. Now, if you don't believe me, hold your breath through this video. If you can hold your breath through a couple of minutes of this video, you're better than me, because I can't hold my breath, and of course no one can beyond a few minutes, because it's the buildup of carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gases, the poisons that we're pouring into the atmosphere, the exact same thing. The carbon dioxide in your lungs that makes living impossible, makes your lungs want to explode. The pain is deadly. You can feel it. So if you want to feel the way it's going to be in a couple of decades for your children to breathe, just hold your breath for a minute or two and you'll see what's in store for them. So this video is showing the carbon dioxide. You can see it's gradually getting yellower and yellower. It's also going to be red as the levels of carbon dioxide increase. We're at 2011 now. We can see it getting worse and worse, much more red in the northern hemisphere. And as we get towards today, or it's a few years, the data ends for some reason at 2016. So it's even worse than what we're showing you here with all of this red all over the place. And so you can only imagine how red it's going to be in a couple more years and then a couple of decades. And it's going to be like holding your breath forever and having that feeling in your lungs until you die, until you pass out and die. That's what's in store for your children. Look at all the red now is everywhere. Those are the higher parts per million of carbon dioxide. And this is just data that NASA put together, confirmed it from their satellites in space, and then showed you the data in a very, very visual, highly effective format. So, you know, it's not me. This is serious stuff, science that's been proven over the years. It's not science fiction. And you know, in my research for this video, I found out that they started lying to us about global warming and climate change and the things that coal and oil and the fossil fuels were doing to us, starting way back under the Kennedy administration. This is a copy of a report that he got and he ignored. They always ignore stuff that's important, of course. They have their pet projects, and you can't throw something else in front of them and get them to do the right thing ever, not even under Kennedy, who was one of the best presidents ever. So he ignored the first reports about global warming coming way back in 1961. So we could have had 60 years if Kennedy had done the right thing and warned us about what was coming if we stayed on coal and oil. Of course, Kennedy and all the other politicians have investments in the fossil fuels, so they can't talk against their own family financial future. As it got worse under Nixon. Nixon, of course, one of the biggest liars to ever be in the White House. They've topped him since then many times, but this is where it really got worse. He said he had a secret plan to end the war. That was a lie. His secret plan was just to bomb. As soon as he got into office after announcing his secret plan during his campaign, he just bombed Cambodia more, the neighboring country to Vietnam. So he's a liar. That was his intent all the time. So when he said, "I'm not a crook," everyone in the country knew he was a crook because everything he said was a lie. So these people will lie to you. And the bad thing about Kennedy is, I didn't realize it until I put together this video and other research for my book. Kennedy decided, instead of warning us about global warming and the catastrophe that was coming from our use of fossil fuels, instead of warning us about it, he distracted us and diverted our attention by sending a man to the moon by 1969, well after he was assassinated. So he didn't get to see it, but he put everything in motion so that we did finally land. A lot of this junk on this part of the lander is still sitting there on the moon, and a lot of other junk from all the other Apollo missions. We just junked up the moon, and nothing else was gained. We did have some hero worship out of it, of course, and it was a great achievement technically, but it did absolutely nothing for the world or the country at large. So thank God there is a whole new generation of a new political consciousness coming soon. In the last election, we saw about 40 or 50 of them, like this great lady. She's my hero. Now imagine this woman's bravery versus the bravery of Neil Armstrong, who all he did was get in a ship supported by thousands of people and landed on the moon, and then came back and had a wonderful life and basically forgot about everything else because he was so successful. I mean, one of the greatest names that we'll never forget. But this lady, I compare her bravery and her consciousness to the likes of Neil Armstrong and Kennedy and Mahatma Gandhi and anyone else in history that, is just totally above reproach. This woman was a bartender, a waitress at a taco stand in the Bronx or Queens, I think it's Queens. And she decided, I've had enough nonsense and I'm going to do something for my country. And she ran for office and took on one of the most powerful people in the world, a Democratic congressman who'd been reelected dozens of times, 3 or 4 times, a lifelong career of getting himself elected. And she said, no, we can do better. And all she did was knocked on doors and showed herself and said the right stuff. Showed people how you have to think differently, and you have to start worrying about the survival of the planet, and you have to do things like the Green New Deal. She is the one who introduced the provisions of the Green New Deal into Congress a month after getting officially inaugurated into office on the 20th of January 2018 or 17. No, so after the 18 election. So she's one of my heroes. And one of the great things, I don't know if you've seen the video, one of the first things she did is she went around, the government was shut down by the Republicans, and people were losing their salaries, losing their homes, not getting paid, hundreds of thousands of people. So this wonderful woman went in search of Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate. She's in the House. Technically, by tradition, she has no business wandering over into the other part of Congress, the Senate, the United States Senate, where they have so many rules and regulations. They could have thrown her out of there if they wanted to. But she wanders around the halls of the Senate looking for Mitch and saying, where's Mitch? Where's Mitch? And that's when I fell in love with this woman, because she was showing what a lousy job Mitch was doing. He was actually hiding from the American people so the government could stay shut down under his hero, Donald Trump. And they did keep the government shut down for about 30 days, longest shutdown in history, until this woman got active and started embarrassing them and asking, where's Mitch? And it was just so wonderful. So I love her, and we need more people like her. If she sells out to the large corporations, then it's all over for the human race. But I guarantee you she won't. She just doesn't have it in her. There's not a cell in her body that would sell out to anybody. She calls herself a democratic socialist. In my book, we talk about what democratic socialism really is. So part of this video is to stimulate your interest in the real political shenanigans that are going on today, and how we have to take over our government with a true democratic socialism. That means a real democracy where we vote in the social things that we need. That's what this woman is all about, and the other freshman congressmen that are just like her. We need more of them. Okay, so this is just something I had to say, because she's the one who inspired me to do all this, to write the book, The Green New Deal, The Rise of Democratic Socialism. So to make an impact, what you have to do is you have to make the Green New Deal go viral. You've got to put this link everywhere you can, because we don't have any more time. We should have had the warning blasted out through all of the schools and all the media everywhere, so that we would have had time to do something about switching from the fossil fuels to the sustainable energy like nuclear, solar, wind, and we could have averted disaster. But now we only have a decade or two, because they didn't tell us, they lied to us. The only way to get around that problem, because time is of the essence, is you've got to make this video go viral. Don't do it for me, do it for creatures like this. Do it for these beautiful, beautiful creatures of the earth who, who's no fault of their own, are all going to become extinct until we finally go extinct. And can you imagine living in a world without zebra? I can't. Do it for them. Can you imagine living in a world without giraffes or elephants? I'm sorry, I can't. I refuse. We've got to do it for all life on Earth, not just these beautiful creatures, but even the ugly ones, the birds and the bees. If without them, we don't live. If the bees are not pollinating our plants, we die. Plants reproduce because of the pollination of the birds and the bees, like this. And we've got to do it for them. We've got to allow them to survive. They must remain here on the earth. Otherwise, we won't remain. Even the lions. Can you imagine living in a world without these beautiful, beautiful creatures? As dangerous as they are, you don't want to approach one, but you've got to guarantee them some space where they can roam free and hunt and live and just be lions, so that we can watch them someday, go on safari and just watch them on videos, photographic safari. Anyone who could kill these things, I despise them. I despise anyone who could kill these innocent, beautiful forms of life. Do it for the creatures of the earth. Do it for them. That's us. Do it for us. If you can't do it for the other creatures of the earth, save yourself. Do it for us. This is not a traffic jam. This is a million people hooking themselves up to the exhaust pipes of the people in front of them and committing suicide one by one, slowly over years instead of instantaneously. That's what traffic jams are to me. We're connecting ourselves up to the tailpipes of all these cars, and that's carbon dioxide. If you don't believe me, it'll kill you. Just hold your breath for over 2 minutes. You'll see how painful it is. That's what's going to happen when all of those tailpipes get worse and worse and worse. You know, in China, they're just now starting to buy millions of cars. In India, a couple of decades ago, they were all riding bikes, and they were the most earth-friendly economy in the world. Now, they all want cars. They want the same lifestyle that we've had, and that's speeding up, of course, the death of this planet, because all the carbon dioxide that's coming out of our tailpipes is going to be dwarfed in comparison to the billions of tailpipes that they're building and starting to drive around in China and India right now, and they want billions more. They're selling millions of them every week for people. So this is what it's like, folks, where we are right now. We're on the Titanic. We're exactly like the passengers of the Titanic, where we can see the iceberg coming. It's a couple miles away. The ship is inexorably headed right on a death course to that iceberg. And of course, if we just lower some lifeboats and get some people to push the bow of the ship in the other direction, any direction, left or right, port or starboard, doesn't matter, and just affect the course of this huge ship that we're on by a few feet, just 10, 20 feet, and we would avoid the worst part of the collision with that iceberg, and our ship of state can continue. And then, of course, I'll continue paddling in the right direction. We'll never hit an iceberg again, never be threatened again by climate change and all of the horrible things that happen to us because of our desire to get rich. You know, we're being killed by the millionaires who just want to turn into billionaires. So the future is up to you. The future is in your hands. We've got to make this video, by the way, and this book a success. Otherwise, there's no hope, because we've got to get it into the hands of millions of people. Otherwise, we're facing the extinction of all life on the planet. So get this in your head to do something every day to support the Green New Deal. And this is why I'm asking you to do this. This is probably the most important picture ever taken. This is taken from a robotic spacecraft called Voyager back in the 90s. It was launched in the 70s, and it took about 20, 30 years to get to this point in our solar system, where it's actually leaving the solar system. It's the first man-made object to ever be hurled out of the solar system. It's continuing on now through interstellar space, and in a few million years, it might encounter another solar system similar to our own, but it will take that long. But in the last throes of its life, it had just enough electricity left in the batteries to turn around and take a shot of where it had been. They almost missed this photograph. They had just photographed most of the other planets in our solar system on Voyager's trip out, and they learned a lot about Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and so forth, because they were all lined up at the time. And Voyager just went past them and very close, and even got amazing shots of the moons of Jupiter and the moons of Saturn. And then finally it got out past Pluto, past what's called the exosphere, I think it's called, iosphere, where the effects of the solar winds are no longer felt at all. And so they left the solar system, and Carl Sagan was in charge, and his assistant told him, why don't we turn around the Voyager spacecraft and take one last snapshot of where we've come from. And they almost didn't do it. NASA didn't want to do it because they're out of money. That thing was basically shut down. But Carl Sagan knew that was a good idea and lobbied with NASA. And after a few weeks, they agreed to do it, hired all their people back, spent a few $1 million more, turned on all the computers again and the satellite dishes, pointed in the right direction. And they sent a command to Voyager to turn around, take one last picture. It did, and it sent it back. And this is what it sent back. Now, it didn't come with these yellow lines, the word Earth, in this blow up section here. That I did. It just came like this, and with this little dot in here. And at first, Elaine Porco, who was Carl Sagan's assistant, thought that little speck was a piece of dirt, and she tried to get it off the print of the image. She tried to wipe it off with her hand. She couldn't. So then she realized that was the Earth, that little blue ball in the middle of this light beam that magically comes down from the sun to point out to our spacecraft in no uncertain terms where it came from. And this tiny little speck in the universe is where we live and breathe. It's where our children will live and breathe and grow up. It is therefore the most sacred spot in the universe as far as I can tell. And if you don't think so, get off it. Leave it. Love it or leave it. That's the catchphrase of the day, and I believe it. But when you're talking about people who don't love the Earth, I can't understand anyone who would not. It's our mother. It's our home. Always will be. As far as we know, there is no more life on any other planets anywhere. So I always love to end my videos and insert this into all of my books because it's the most important photograph ever taken. And I hope you enjoyed that. But what the whole point is, to preserve it and keep it, this amazing, miraculous spot of life, the only little bastion of life in a huge, huge universe, is make the Green New Deal go viral. Put this link everywhere that you can. If enough people aren't aware of the problem we're in, and most people are still not aware, trust me, we're doomed. We've got to turn it around. We have just enough years left to get everyone aware, and then they start doing things that I suggest in my book, The Green New Deal, The Rise of Democratic Socialism. We've got to do all of those things and more in my book, so you have to find your way to the book. Millions of people have to find their way to the book. That's the cover. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. I have a course work that teaches everything in the book at Udemy. That's the web address right there. You look for the Audible book, just go to Audible and search it. The Green New Deal, The Rise of Democratic Socialism. You'll find it. I recommend it to everybody. give it a good review. Because the more reviews we have, the more times the search engines will recommend it to more and more people. So we've got to make this go viral, and I'm telling you how to do that right now. And we have to do that. And that's really the most important message I have for you, is to save the earth. We have to make the Green New Deal go viral. Here it is right in front of you. It's like the tip of the iceberg. There's much more that you're going to learn as you hit all those links that I just showed you. And it's very important that we all learn all of that, but we have to learn the basis first about how important it is and how much time we have left. A lot of people think we've got about a dozen years left. I think we've got a little bit more, maybe 24 years left. So in your children's lifetime, we could go over the tipping point where no matter what we do, we can't reverse the climate change until the point where there's no more clean air to breathe and everything is underwater. There's nowhere to live. All of the food sources could be underwater very soon. And then what? You have billions of people trying to eat a billionth as much food as is available today. That doesn't sound like a real successful formula to me. So this is like the Uber of evolution right in front of you. You've got to, realize that this is a very unique time in space and time, and we have to make the choice. And there's nothing more important than that. Hit the subscribe button. That'll help make this video go viral. That'll help a lot. Again, these things make the book get suggested by the search engines more and more. If you do them, if you don't do anything, no one's going to find out about this in time. So make this video go viral, make the book go viral. Put that link everywhere, greennewdealofficial.com. Put it in your Facebook. Put it in your Twitters, your tweets, your Facebook posts, your IMs, your text messages, whatever it is that you do. Send people here all the time. And don't forget about it. Do it once a week at least for the rest of your life, or until we're out of this danger. Like the video, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, go to that website often. Do the things that we suggest. We're looking for more contributors to that website. Do it, contribute. Make it go viral. Make the Green New Deal go viral. By liking this video, hit the subscribe button, mention that website everywhere you can. And even then, nothing's guaranteed. But there's a good chance if you do all of that, that we will survive and you'll be able to hand a planet to your children where they might actually survive and be able to have children themselves. Thank you for listening.